Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We will give folks maybe just a minute or two to get into the room, make sure we're not missing anybody. But we're pleased to have you here today for our WACARES Interested Parties meeting to review our draft rule text for revisions to Chapter 388116 WAC. Again, we'll give people maybe another minute. I expect we'll probably start right about 9:02. Just want to make sure we have all the folks in the room here. Um, Yeah, so we'll get started in just a minute. All right. Let's get started here as we may have some more people joining us, but once again, thank you for being here at the WACARES Interested Parties meeting for a draft rule text review. We're pleased to present our draft rules for your consideration, and we're really looking forward to your feedback. I think each time we've done this, it's been very helpful. I'm Ariel Finney, the WACARES Policy and Rules Manager within the Department of Social and Health Services. I'm joined today behind the scenes by several of my colleagues who have been part of the rulemaking process. This presentation today is being recorded and will be available on the WACARES rulemaking website. Our purpose for today is to hear feedback from interested parties on our rule text and to inform our proposed rule text, cost-benefit analysis, and small business economic impact statement as we prepare to file our CR 102. We have a very brief agenda for today. It's very direct. We're going to talk a little bit about housekeeping just to understand the tools that are available to us to discuss feedback. But most of our time is going to be spent talking about our draft rule text and reviewing the changes that we are proposing. We are scheduled for an hour today, but we will end whenever kind of feedback ends. So if that takes the full hour, that's fine. If we go faster, we'll end whenever things feel like we're coming. We receive the feedback we need, and we'll close up then. All right, so currently chat is disabled, but we will be making that available when we begin our draft rule text review. You're welcome to use the question and answer feature, but the chat is oftentimes the best place as we get going so people can see comments and understand what's being said by other participants. That said, if you do have questions about WACARES, please contact WACARES at dshs.wa.gov. Our time today will be specific to draft rules, and we'll be reviewing those, but we won't be answering questions about the program as a whole. Again, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to the email there on the screen. The recording of this webinar and the slide deck will be available on the website on the screen, which is our WACARES rulemaking website. We also have the draft text available there. So if you would like more time to review, you're welcome to go pull that up. And you can submit feedback to me, Ariel. Please allow us a few days to process the recording, though. While the draft rule text is available right now, it does take us a little bit of time to process the recording and get it posted. So no, it will be posted and available if folks are interested in reviewing this. We ask for all comments to be submitted by 8 a.m. on Monday, March 2nd. We are reviewing feedback as we receive it, and we will use those comments and feedback to inform our draft rule text, cost-benefit analysis, and small business economic impact statement. Please submit any written comments to me, Ariel Finney, at ariel.finney2@dshs.wa.gov. I will put that in the chat here in a bit as well. We are also, of course, today taking feedback both verbally and through chat. So if this is a great opportunity to ask any questions about the changes that we are making, but also submit any comments. If you would like more time, though, you have until Monday, March 2nd at 8 a.m. Our ask today is for your help looking at this rule text with fresh eyes and new perspective to create clear and directive rules. We have spent a lot of time drafting and building these rules, so those fresh eyes, different perspective will be really helpful to us. We ask that feedback remain specific to the areas being revised. We have a very specific scope for this project and we would like to remain within that. Please let us know if you see an impact from the rules for beneficiaries, providers, or others who will be participating or engaging with the program. And if something is unclear, please bring it to our attention. I have a few prompts that we can use just to kind of kick off the conversation. Some questions to be considering as we move forward in these draft rule texts are whether the expectations and requirements are clear, and whether those are there areas that need further description to be clear, and do you see a disproportionate impact to small businesses with these changes? All right, so with that, we are going to open up the chat for everybody. And we're going to talk about this draft rule text. So hopefully chat should be working for everyone. And please feel free to use that along the way. I'll do my best to keep an eye on that. And then we will jump right into the draft rule text. Please let me know if you are not seeing this PDF on the screen. We're going to start off with 388.116.1010 definitions. I believe this should be presenting correctly, but I always like to double check. With that, we are proposing a few edits to our definition section. Specifically, our first change is going to be under approved services. We are adding in under approved services for adaptive equipment and technology, crutches, canes, and walkers and their accessories and replacement materials as allowable purchases. So right now they have, in our current rule text, they are not allowed. And we want to add those in as allowable purchases for people to use their benefits for adaptive equipment and technology. I recognize it might be a little bit hard to kind of keep track of all these pieces, and I will do my best to introduce them, but again, ask the questions that you need to understand these changes. I'm happy to do that. I'm going to continue on through all of these changes, and I will come back and ask for feedback. So feel free to ask the questions, but also know I'm going to be revisiting these just so we can see all of the changes and understand what that means for the overall rule. So once again, we're going to be allowing crutches, canes, and walkers and their accessories and replacement materials, which today are not allowed. Continuing on, and I apologize for the scrolling, we are going to look at services that assist paid and unpaid family members caring for eligible individuals. This is an approved service, and there are two subtypes, which is housework and errands and yard work and snow removal. After further exploration of housework and errands, we wanted to clarify this definition to be more specific to what is housework and what is errands. So we are revising this to say housework and errands are services supporting beneficiaries to remain in their own home by assisting with ordinary housework and running errands such as essential shopping or trips to the post office. Previously, or in current state, this says that they would be assisting with instrumental activities of daily living, which is a broader definition. Continuing on, we are introducing a new definition, which is consumer-to-consumer online platform, which means an e-commerce marketplace facilitating direct peer-to-peer transactions between people, bypassing transitional retailers. Examples of consumer-to-consumer platforms include, but are not limited to, eBay, Classifieds, OfferUp, Craigslist, and Facebook Marketplace. This definition is being introduced as it relates to reimbursements, and we'll talk more about that here shortly. And also, yeah, I think there's reimbursements, but we'll talk more about that shortly. All right, we're also moving a definition and changing that definition for financial management services vendor. This is currently defined under eligible beneficiary reimbursement, WAC. We are moving this into definitions for some housekeeping purposes. But also we recognize that this definition applies to more than just one WAC as we introduce new WACs, and we'll talk about those more soon. So with this, financial management services vendor means an entity contracted with the department to administer reimbursements and purchase adaptive equipment and technology on behalf of an eligible beneficiary. Moving on to our next definition here, we have the definition of reimbursement, which it currently lives under eligible beneficiary reimbursement. We are moving it to the definition section for housekeeping, but also because it will apply to more than one WAC as we introduce our two new WACs that I'll talk about more here soon. We are revising this definition slightly to have a broader meaning to apply to these new WACs. We're proposing reimbursement means payment from an eligible beneficiary's fund for the purchases of an approved service. Wonderful. Let's continue on to 388-116-3020, which speaks to minimum qualifications. We are making one technical edit for clarity regarding the holding all current requirement that long-term services supports providers meet a minimum qualification to hold all current licenses, certifications, credentials, trainings, and authorizations identified for the type of approved service they are seeking to provide or are registered to provide. Previously, we said providers, or in current state, we said providers are seeking to furnish. Furnish may not be as plain language as we had hoped and may not represent what we are intending, which is to deliver multiple types of approved services. So we're making a what we would consider a technical edit to increase clarity and have more direct language there. I'm going to scroll for a second here. So if this is a visual disturbance for you, please feel free to look away. We have a whole section here for minimum qualifications. So we're going to stop here when it comes to professional nursing services. Here we have the current requirement, which is business license pursuant to Chapter 1902 RCW. We're introducing certificate of completion from the private duty nursing program, classes for all private duty nursing applicants available through home and community services, and one of these following requirements. So the following is all current state, but the certificate of completion from the private duty nursing program is the new language. All right, I'm going to scroll for a second here as well and stop when it comes to transportation service providers. We currently require a business license pursuant to Chapter 1902 RCW, a driver's license pursuant to Chapter 4620 RCW, and have one of the following. We're adding some language here for clarification regarding a certification, auto transportation company certification, and we're including language that certification must be from the Washington Utilities and Transportation Commission, which currently applies, but is adding clarity there, as well as citing to their WAC requirements. We're also adding that same level of clarity to private nonprofit transportation provider certification, saying that certification, while we currently say is pursuant to Chapter 8166, we're clarifying that is from the Washington Utilities and Transportation Commission, and I'm seeing a typo here. For the folks behind the scenes here, if you could please note that we have a typo. That's going to be something we can fix behind the scenes here. And then our new introduction here regarding one of the following, or they can have a for-hire endorsement from the Department of Revenue. So this expands who can be a transportation service provider to include the for-hire endorsement from the Department of Revenue. All right, 388-116-3030 is regarding background checks for provider applicants and long-term services and supports providers. We are making some technical edits regarding connecting back to the approved service definition. Currently it says dementia supports, but our definition says dementia and behavioral supports. So we're making a technical edit there. as well as professional services. As it says today, we're adding in nursing services, professional nursing services, for clarity regarding our definition of approved service. Right. All right. So we are, our goal for this section is to clarify as well as reduce the burden to providers for background checks. So currently, entity owners and contract signatories for the approved services listed under subsection 1 of the section must pass a DSHS background check as required. In this case, we have both the entity owner and the contract signatories having to sign. We are proposing language that limits that to just a person with 5% or more ownership, or the person who signs the contract with the department or the area agency on aging. Our hope is to reduce the background checks burden for providers while still doing background checks on the entity that's being registered with us. Those background checks must still be completed as required by RCW 4320A 710 in Chapter 388113 WAC. This language already exists. We're just clarifying it and redoing the structure here. All right. Continuing on, we're going to talk about 388-116-3080, an exception to an approved services rule. We wanted to clarify as a way of making sure we're gathering all the information we need at the beginning of an exception to an approved services request, that we're asking that that request be submitted using a department form that we will provide. This allows us to ask the questions and gather the information we need to understand the request, as well as understand who the provider is and gather that information rather than having to do multiple follow-ups with that requester. Okay, we have 388-116-4030, which is eligible beneficiary reimbursement. In this WAC, we are making a technical edit, as well as adding that the receipt must include all of these things. Currently, it says name of the approved service. We're including name of the item for the approved service. And then we're introducing some language here at the bottom that an eligible beneficiary may not request reimbursement for a purchase made using the consumer-to-consumer online platform. So we saw that definition earlier. This is saying that an eligible beneficiary may not request reimbursement for a purchase made using things like Facebook Marketplace or eBay or other items that are a consumer-to-consumer online platform. And eligible beneficiaries may not be reimbursed for transportation expenses, such as airplane tickets, traffic citations, ambulance rides covered by insurance, transportation for leisure activities, and parking fees for non-medical appointments. We're adding this language to align with our transportation definition, and noting items that would be outside of that that may still be requested for reimbursement. This allows us to remain aligned with services, the approved service of transportation, and the intended use of that. We are striking these two definitions for financial management services vendor and reimbursement. We moved those to the definition section and reworded them to accommodate two new WACs that I'll talk about shortly. All right, our next WAC is 388-116-5030, and that's regarding administrative hearing requests. In this, we are proposing new language here that clarifies the requirements that already exist outside of these WACs, but to make it easier for folks to not only find this information, but understand how attorney fees or other fees are managed during an administrative hearing. We're introducing this language. So this isn't new, but we did want to include it to be clear for any appellant requesting an administrative hearing. So here we're saying the department is not responsible for attorney fees or other fees incurred by the appellant to participate in the hearing. All right, so that is the end of our proposed revisions to WAC, our current WACs. I do have two new WACs that we're going to discuss here. The first one being transportation mileage reimbursement. Again, this is a new WAC, and we're proposing it to be WAC 388-116-4040. In this case, we're saying an eligible beneficiary may select a family member or friend to provide transportation to the beneficiary. The family member or friend may be reimbursed up to the maximum rate per month for miles traveled with the beneficiary at the current IRS mileage reimbursement rate under WAC 388-116-4020. To request transportation mileage reimbursement, the eligible beneficiary must be enrolled with a financial management services vendor and follow their requirements for processing and issuing reimbursement. And to receive reimbursement for transportation mileage provided to an eligible beneficiary, the family member or friend must be enrolled with a financial management services vendor, provide proof of a current valid driver's license, provide proof of up-to-date auto insurance, provide proof of vehicle registration, and be over the age of 18. The family member or friend must document mileage traveled with the eligible beneficiary and the date of service, and submit the documentation to the financial management services vendor no more than 60 days after the date the transportation was provided. And the family member or friend is not required to be a long-term services and supports provider under WAC 388-116-3010. Our next new WAC is WAC 388, or next proposed new WAC is WAC 388-116-4050 regarding financial management services vendor purchases on behalf of eligible beneficiaries. I'm also going to ask my team to note that we have a typo here on behalf of eligible beneficiaries. It should be plural. Or we add an and. With that, an eligible beneficiary may request the financial management services vendor purchase allowable adaptive equipment and technology under WAC 388-116-1010 on their behalf. When a financial management services vendor makes a purchase on behalf of an eligible beneficiary, the financial management services vendor must follow WAC 388-116-4020 for maximum rates for adaptive equipment and technology. And the financial management services vendor must not purchase adaptive equipment and technology for a beneficiary using a consumer-to-consumer online platform. All right, thank you all. That is the end of our review of our draft WACs. I'm going to begin at the beginning here, 388-116-1010, regarding definitions. Do we have any comments or feedback on this section? You are welcome to raise your hand if you'd like to come off mute and share a comment verbally. You're also welcome to use the chat feature. We do have question and answer option available, but I think the chat is the best way to engage with the participants in the room. Okay. You're welcome to continue to put in a comment for this WAC, but I'm going to continue, move us along here. Scroll for a second, so I apologize. We're going to transition on to our next WAC. 388-116-3020, minimum qualifications. Do we have any comments or feedback on this WAC and the proposed changes? All right, we have a comment here from Amy. Does this WAC include the requirements for nursing services? It's my understanding that professional nursing services encompasses 3 different service types: private duty nursing, nurse delegation, and skilled nursing. The proposed change seems to read that all 3 service types must take a private duty nursing class. Is that correct, or should that be a requirement only for the private duty nursing type? Thank you so much, Amy, for your question. I'm going to look to my subject matter experts in the room to see if anybody who knows this topic much more than I do can answer this question. Katie, you should be able to come off mute.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for catching this. Yes, this is a requirement that should only be applicable to private duty nursing subcode. So we will make sure to double check the language and make sure that it is only being applied to that private duty nursing subcode or portion of the professional nursing services. So yeah, thanks so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Katie, for your assist on that. And thank you, Amy, for bringing that to our attention. I think this is a fantastic example of why these sessions are so important and why those fresh eyes can be really helpful for catching these before we propose rules or move it too far along. Any other comments regarding 388-116-3020? All right, next up, we have 388-116-3030, which is background checks for provider applicants and long-term services and supports providers. Do you have any comments or feedback on the proposed changes to this WAC? All right, I'm not seeing any, but I'm going to continue on here. 388-116-3080, exception to an approved services rule. Do we have any comments or feedback on the proposed changes to this WAC? Okay. Next up, 388-116-4030, eligible beneficiary reimbursement. Do we have any comments or feedback on the proposed changes to this rule? Okay. And next up, the changes to 388-116-5030, which is regarding administrative hearing requests. Do we have any comments or feedback on the proposed changes to this rule? Wonderful. All right, let's move on to our newly created proposed WACs. We have WAC 388-116-4040, transportation mileage reimbursement. Do you have any comments or feedback on this proposed rule? All right. And next up on our newly proposed WAC, 388-116-4050, which is financial management services vendor purchases on behalf of eligible beneficiaries or an eligible beneficiary. All right. I'm not seeing anything, but if you're typing, feel free to keep typing. With that, we're going to transition to start closing here. We have reviewed our draft rule text, and we have some resources that I'm going to drop in the chat here for you. We have our DSHS rulemaking website for WCARES. So if you're interested in the draft rule text that we reviewed today and you would like more time with that, it is available on this website. And our deadline for providing any sort of written comment on this is Monday, March 2nd at 8 a.m. So please feel free to take a look at that. We will also have the recording available of the session on that site here probably in the next few days. Employment Security Department, or ESD, has their website for rulemaking as well, and they are also doing rulemaking for WCARES, as well as the Healthcare Authority, or HCA. They are also doing rulemaking for WCARES. So if you're interested in any of the rulemaking topics that they would cover, please take a look at those websites and uh, get familiar with where they're at and what they're proposing. If you have questions regarding the WCARES program, please email wcARES@dshs.wa.gov. Otherwise, my email address is in the chat. And if you have any questions about the rulemaking process, please feel free to email me. My email address is arielle.f as in Frank, inney2@dshs.wa.gov. And with that, I thank you all for being here and participating. As we saw today with the comments, this process is very important. It allows us to see things with a fresh look, understand the impact from different perspectives, and just really a great opportunity to kind of connect and show you what we're working on here. So please reach out with any questions about the rulemaking process or any additional comments. Otherwise, we really appreciate your time. We're really grateful for your participation, and we look forward to doing this again when we propose changes in the future. With that, have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.